Let's now switch to the technology part, Vivek. So I wanted to sort of try and understand what are the, if there are some architectural principles that we use, for instance, the stupendous scale, right, without breaking, right? For instance, using of open source, for instance, using of AI algorithms, right? What are the kind of thinking that pervades the ability to create these platforms as well? What is the level of sophistication that you guys have in terms of putting these pieces together? Any thoughts on that? How do you architect this storyline to be at such scale and also make it simple enough that it doesn't become too complex? Software, as we know, can become very painful if you don't handle it very carefully. And that, I think, is a very strong unsung, story that we need to sing a little bit more about, how brilliantly these systems work at such scale. I wanted to get your opinion.
No, I mean, I think that, at the highest level, the question, and this is where we've always tried to play an importance, is that spend time on the design, right? So therefore, there is something you can do and say, okay, and frankly, we do face pressures, right? That something should happen tomorrow, or but I think that spending time, and I think that's something that we have learned, is that spend time on the design. And basically involve all the stakeholders and do keep things as minimal as possible. I think these are some very simple principles that if you do few things but do it well. Okay, that's the thing. And also try to make sure that your architecture is creating this open protocol which allows multiple players. So think of some of the design of those things. Communicate with the stakeholders, and after that, if you design it well, right? I mean, I think that from a technology perspective and all of those things, now, I mean, and I think that and you have to keep moving, right? We started in 2010 with Aadhaar and some of those things. At that stage, smartphone was not was not there in the country at all, right? And today it is pervasive, right? And so there are many of these big trends which have been happening. So therefore, and you need to continuously take the view that you need to upgrade things and understand how better things are happening in the world, and take your strategy to reflect some of the both global technology challenges, global technology trends, as well as specific things on how consumers in the country and how we expect a service to be. Yeah, and I think an example of clearly UPI being easier to pay than in other countries is I think in the end, right? I mean, if we take a focus, one of the things that's always been a challenge in India is how is the ease of living. It's and this is still true, right? It is more complicated to do things. I mean, expect maybe payments is somewhat of an exception. It's more complicated to do things in India than in other countries. And that's really, for somebody like me, why does it matter if that when a day that those things become, as easy to do, right? As and easy to do as it is anywhere else in the world, then we've reached, it's an empowerment of the citizens and things like that. And to me, those are the kinds of things that if you actually can play a small role to move the needle in some direction, there is what excites me personally.